Good evening. Welcome to Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. I'd like to welcome everyone out today to our Monday night program. I'm going to be talking about a few things here today, but before I begin to discuss the matters of the news, I want to share some interesting information here. First of all, I'd like to just kind of put in a word for our Senior Associate Publisher Vice President here at CTM News, Charles Lingerfeld Sr. He sends his greetings to the Republican Texas Virtual Convention, especially those who live and reside in Congressional District 30. He says, please remember to cast your vote for yours truly, Charles Lingerfeld, to become the Texas Elector 2020 in the Electoral College. And he says, thank you very much for your support. As I said, the convention begins, the virtual convention, and I believe this is the first ever virtual convention for the Republican Party, or any other party, I believe, a virtual convention. Well, we live in a time of technology, so should be nothing new. But before I begin to discuss the issues of the day, I also want to point out the Helmut Northforth model, which has predicted correctly the presidents of the United States 25 out of the last 27 times. Matter of fact, in 2016, when the poll pundits and forecasters were all predicting certain victory for Hillary Clinton, the primary model was practically alone in predicting Donald Trump's victory. It did so as early as March 7th that year, putting his chance of winning up to 87%. And the primary model gives Donald Trump, at this particular time for his re-election, they give him a chance of 91% of winning the 2020 presidential election, with Democratic Joe Biden having just 9% chance. Trump would get 362 electoral votes, Biden a possible 176. This forecast is unconditional and final, hence not subject to any updating. It was first posted on March 2nd, 2020 on Twitter, so it's already been posted. In case you don't know anything about this polling, for the record, the primary model picks the winner of 25 out of the last 27 presidents since 1912, when presidential primaries were introduced. The misses are 1960 and 1960, one of the closest presidential elections, and 2000, when the Lake County in Florida handed Bush, the late Bush, the victory. Still, Al Gore wound up winning the popular vote, winning the earlier primaries and a major key electoral victory. Well, another thing, to capture the effects of the electoral cycle and the nominee's primary performance, of the primary model uses data from elections going back as far as 1912. Wow. And also, contrary to primary model pre-election polls, which you're hearing now, are giving Biden a comfortable lead over President Trump. The Real Clear Politics average in early July puts the former vice president ahead of incumbent president by 9 percentage points. See, they flip everything around. And unfortunately, our Fox News is also following, they're not a liberal organization, but they are following these numbers and listening to these numbers, which have already been proven wrong before. And like I said, the numbers that they put out a lot of times in these situations are not accurate. They're just polling. They're probably picking a bunch of liberals, put them together and poll them to say who's going to win in comparison to the public. Well, the lead-off story today is dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. The document dated July 14th and obtained by the Center for Public Integrity says 18 states are in the red zone for COVID-19 cases, meaning they had more than 100 new cases per 100,000 population last week. 11 states are in the red zone with tests positively, meaning more than 10% of the diagnosed test results came back positive. But if you know some of the things that they have going on with the numbers and saying things are positive, they could also be using people who have antibodies, also showing that as positive as well. It concludes county level data and reflects the insistence of the Trump administration that states and counties should take the lead in responding to the coronavirus. The document has been shared with federal government but not been published publicly yet. Dr. Deborah Burke, a leader of the task force, referenced an earlier version of what appears to be the same report, which she was updated weekly and sent to governors. In a press conference July 8th, and with Vice President Mike Pence urged local leaders to open schools in the fall. She said Arizona, California, Florida, Texas were among the states the task force was monitoring carefully, and that a series of other states were also in the red zone and should consider limiting gathering. It's clear some states are not following the task force advice. For instance, the document recommended Georgia in the red zone for both cases and test positivity mandate state wearing of cloth mask coverings outside the home. But Governor Brian Kemp signed an order Wednesday banning localities from requiring masks. I can understand this because it's already been proven. If you look at the scientific facts, it's proven that not even the N95 mask can actually protect you from any virus that's out there. It's already been proven. It's scientific. Check the science, see what I'm talking about, see if it's not true. Even Fauci in the beginning said, well, if you want to do it, it's better be safe and whatever. But they've even proved the cloth mask is even worse. Matter of fact, a lot of the cloth masks, if you keep them on and you don't wash them and clean them and don't change them, they can reinfect you and keep a virus going even in you and actually hurt you more than help you. The 18 states, including the red zone cases, are documented: Alabama, Arkansas, Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, Nevada, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Utah. 11 states that are in the red zone for test positivity are Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Nevada, South Carolina, Texas, and Washington. In May, the World Health Organization recommended that governments make sure test positivity rates were at 5% or lower for 14 days before reopening. A COVID-19 tracker from Johns Hopkins University shows that 33 states were above all recommended positivity of July 16th. Now, I don't know. The thing we're dealing with here is a lot of times we have a situation where we're having politics blended in with results. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a break right now, and you're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. We'll be right back at you in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the Voice of Truth. As you know, you probably have heard, we have here in the state of Texas, we have the Republican National Convention week. Goes through July 20th through the 22nd, and it is going to be a virtual event. The Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is facing pressure from contending groups inside his party as he prepares to interview a short list of women for the most important hire of his political career. His running mate says, that's his running mate. Biden vows to reverse Trump environment rollbacks. So he's already saying that he's going to destroy what Trump has already established. So we see that we do not want this gentleman in the office. Biden, who committed to choosing a woman for the job he held for 8 years under President Barack Obama, said this week he expected the background vetting process to conclude around July 24. He would then interview each finalist before making a decision, expected by early August. The selection of vice presidential candidate has taken an outsized importance this year, reflecting the desperation to defeat Republican President Donald J. Trump among Democrats, who have agonized over which candidate would give Biden the biggest boost on November 3rd election. Biden leads in national background state opinion polls as voters fault Trump for handling the coronavirus pandemic, subsequent economic recession, and race relations, which is pretty much one of the reasons I've always said that sometimes we pick this garbage up from liberal media, because liberal media is always trying to put their stance on against President Trump. I tell you, this has been one of the strangest times in history. You know, I've never seen a president over my lifetime be attacked as much as President Trump. It goes on to say there's a lot of attention on this for a number of reasons, not least of which is that Vice President Biden is 77 years old, former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said. Reid, who has had several conversations about the topic with Biden, said the list narrowed in recent weeks but remained fairly large. The women under serious consideration include Senator Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and Tammy Duckworth, who of course Whoopi Goldberg endorses. She don't think a black woman should be put in as a possible vice presidential candidate. U.S. Representatives Val Demings and Karen Bass, former U.S. National Security Advisor Susan Rice, New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, and Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, according to interviews with Democratic officials. Okay, let's move on. Alrighty. So, some progressive black advocates pointed to Warren's attention to racial inequity in crafting her policy platform as a presidential contender, while noting that Harris' background as a prosecutor in California and Demings as a police chief in Florida might make them less appealing to criminal justice activists. Representation is important. It is just not sufficient, says Maurice Mitchell, executive director of the liberal Working Families Party. Oh boy. Mitchell said he planned to make the case for Warren directly to Biden or his senior aides during an expected sit-down soon. Okay, moving on. Get out of that thing. But Biden, really, to tell the truth, they can elect or choose whoever they want. President Trump has pretty much stole the thunder from any politician that wants to step up and challenge him for the presidency. He's addressed almost every issue. Even they tried to bring up this thing about DACA against him in recent days in the liberal media. They're bringing this garbage up again when he's already stated in public that he has a plan that he's going to deal with this DREAM Act involving DACA, and I believe there's going to be something that's going to be a great thing for the Hispanic people or the Mexican people who are coming and incorporating themselves into this country. He will take care of those things, and I know the Democratic Party is scared of it, so they tell their liberal cronies in the liberal news media to spew out some false documents and false evidence. But this much is true. The United States, and this is something I wanted to share, and I wanted to share this a couple of nights ago, but I wasn't able to locate the information. But please forgive me for not having it ready at that time. But this is another addressing to Black Lives Matter. And I believe Black Lives Matter. I believe all lives matter. But let me go over something real quick, because I am a pro-life person myself, and I'm not afraid to say it. But this much is true. In the United States, the abortion rate for black women is almost 5 times that for white women. Anti-abortion activists, including some African-American pastors, have been waging a campaign around this fact, falsely asserting that the disparity is a result of aggressive marketing by abortion providers to minority communities. Well, give me a break. If you're going to kill your baby, nobody should be able to convince you to do that if you really believe that Black Lives Matter. Because you women that are carrying African-American babies around and going down to the abortion clinic and aborting our futures, you need to be dealt with. This whole thing about abortion really was one of the worst things this country ever did, and unfortunately the world has copied and followed behind. The Issues for Life Foundation, for example, is a faith-based organization that targets and works with African-American leaders toward achieving the goal of 0 African-American lives lost to abortion or biotechnology. Give kudos to them. In April, Issue for Life wrote the Congressional Black Caucus and denounced Planned Parenthood Federation of America and its racist and eugenic goals. The group blamed PPFA and abortion providers in general for high abortion rates in the African American community, deeming the situation the furor of America, and called on Congress to withdraw federal family planning funds from the Planned Parenthood organization and its affiliates. These activists are exploiting the distorting of facts that serve their anti-abortion agenda. They ignore the fundamental reasons. This is what they're saying: women have abortions, and the underlying problem of racial, ethnic disparities across an array of health indicators. The truth is is that behind virtually every abortion is an unintended pregnancy. So we're going to take a break right now. We'll come back at you in a moment. You're watching Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Welcome back. You're watching Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Black women are not alone in having disproportionately high unintended pregnancy and abortion rates. The abortion rates among Hispanic women, for example, although not as high, our rate above black women is double the rate among whites. Hispanics also have a higher level of unintended pregnancies than white women. Black women's unintended pregnancy rates are the highest of all. These higher unintended pregnancy rates, as they're calling it, reflect the particular difficulties that many women in the minority communities face access to highly quality contraceptive services, and in using these chosen method of birth control consistently and effectively over long periods of time. Moreover, these realities must be seen in a larger context and significant racial layout. Now, let me go ahead. We're going to just go over the numbers real quick here, and this is a very sad state of things, because I mean, this should have never happened in the first place. This is full of all wickedness. This whole thing of abortion, you know, whether you want an abortion or not, whether it was a rape or whatever it is, if the baby is healthy, have the baby and put it up for adoption. Do not kill babies and try to pretend like it's not murder. It is murder. You're killing a baby, and that is taking a life. I know that some may not agree with me, but this is my viewpoint. Maybe not necessarily, I believe it's the viewpoint of the CTM News, but it is my personal viewpoint that children have the right to live, even as a fetus coming up. Okay, behind the numbers, abortion rates have been declining in the United States for a quarter of a century, from the high of 29.3% per thousand women aged 15 to 44 in 1981, and an historic low post-Roe versus Wade, and 19.4 in 2005. The overall numbers of abortion has been falling too, dropping in 1.2 million in 2005. 1.2 million lives being destroyed by abortion. I can't even fathom that. I thank God that my parents were not given in to do that, else I would not be here with you today. So stop taking away God's seed and killing it. Currently, about 1/3 of all abortions are obtained by white women, and 37% are obtained by black women. Latinas comprise a smaller portion of the women who have abortions, and the rest are obtained by Asians, Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, and women of mixed race. But the abortion rates among women in the minority communities have followed the overall downward trend over the 3 decades of legalized abortion. At the same time, however, black women consistently have had the highest abortion rates, followed by Hispanic women. Oh, what a sad, sad testament. Black lives matter, and surely all lives matter to God, who put that baby and gave that baby life in the womb. So when we abort God's vision and God's direction for our lives, then we're in bad shape. And believe you me, you better seek forgiveness if you've done one of those abortions, because God will judge. Unfortunately, He's judging some people even now in this country. And like I said, you can count it against me if you want, but I am a person who supports the right to life. And I believe every infant, born and unborn, that has life needs to be brought to full term and to be brought into this world. If you lay down and get pregnant, you need to have the baby. If you don't want the child, put it up for adoption. Okay, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back to you in a moment on Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Welcome back, welcome back. We're going to go over to our last story for today. It says here, just because you are paranoid, it doesn't mean they aren't out to get Donald Trump. Donald Trump is fond of extravagant attacks on the media or peddling fake news. But while he has become familiar with presidential hyperbole, most of the TV networks in the U.S. are sympathetic toward him in their coverage. But does that mean the polls they commissioned are skewed? I think not. As Peter Kellner has written for this site, a pollster would go bust if they fixed their results. As I write, most of the recent polls have shown President Trump trailing his Democratic opponent Joe Biden, but around 10 points. There is a Rasmussen poll showing a gap of just 3 points. On the other hand, the Quinnipiac University poll has Biden ahead by 15 points. And as I told you earlier, the poll that has decided predicted most presidents out of the last 27 presidents polls President Trump at 91% and former Vice President Biden at 9%. I tend to believe that's more accurate. People don't want a president or a person that's scared to come out of his basement to serve in our country. How are you going to fight for this nation if you can't even get out of your basement and show the people that you can fight for them and stand with them? Something has to be done. And I want to see a debate just as well as President Trump does. But I do not believe the Democratic Party is going to allow that debate. Because they know that President Trump would most likely, pulverize, I'd say, former Vice President Biden. The Democrats are sure to win California, they say, with 55 electoral college votes. Look, let me tell you something. You look at all these numbers all you want, but the people are not stupid. They might be going on the side of, that look like they're going on the side of the Democratic Party, when unless you go in that booth, you don't know who they're voting for. That is why California is trying their best to steal, have the Democrats steal California by allowing mail-in voting. But I'll tell you a little secret what I believe is going to happen. I don't know. I might be wrong. I believe even if they do this mail-in voting, they're still going to find out that President Trump is still going to win, even though they're trying to defeat him. So, you know, I'm an optimist. I believe that even though I know they're going to go out of their way to try their best to lie to us and try to steal the election for President Trump. President Trump was well suited as an insurgent. His message that weak leadership was leaving Americans vulnerable to crime, terrorism, illegal immigration, and unfair trade deals resonated. But now he is seeking to downplay fears of coronavirus in order to keep the economy going. He's not downplaying fears. He's looking at the science. The very thing the Democratic Party accused him of not doing in the past, even when he was talking about through this impeachment, even the time when he was talking about this coronavirus in the beginning. Well, President Trump is looking at the science, and the science has already proven that the masks don't work. It's already proven. You don't believe me? Check it out for yourself. The N95 mask doesn't even work, and it's been tested for years. It doesn't even work to prevent any serious virus. And definitely the cloth, they don't work. Even Fauci himself said it. He wishy-washes on everything, goes back and forth, but he himself said that it would not work. As polling days near, the focus will be less on whether voters are favorable or unfavorable of President Trump and more on the choice between him and Biden. Trump is 74 years old. Biden is 77. Will Americans feel it's time to make way for an older man? Also, while Biden comes across as pleasant fellow, he conveys weakness and confusion. Keeping Biden low profile for the campaign surely would not work. Biden will probably lose the TV debates against Trump, but for Biden to refuse to take part would be even worse. And I'm going to tell you what I believe is going to happen. What Biden is going to do, he's going to come on with a debate, but he's going to request a debate between his vice president of choice and him and President Trump and Vice President Pence. And I'm going to predict, I may be wrong, but I'm going to predict it anyway. I predict that Elizabeth Warren is going to be Vice President Biden's running mate. You know why? Because she was favored as someone to attack Trump and get little tags into him. So they're going to bring him back. They're going to bring her back. Okay, let's see. Make this last statement. Trump stood by Mount Rushmore and declared, "Today we pay tribute to an exceptional lives and extraordinary legacies of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt." And let me tell you something else. Do you want to support a president who is willing to allow our national monuments to be torn down? Because that's what former Vice President Biden says. He's going to go against everything Trump has gone for. He's going to bring all regulations back that President Trump is trying to get rid of or has gotten rid of. He's going to bring all that back. So if you want to choose between heaven and Hades, then choose Hades. You'll choose Biden. If you choose heaven, which is the person who's trying his best to do what he can for the American people, you will choose President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence. They were even making, the liberal media was making fun recently of Mike Pence for his Christianity, for his beliefs. What foolishness. Well, I'm a believer. I believe on our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You may not be a Christian, but I believe. And I'm also a person who's pro-life, and I descended from Judeo-Christian lineage, and my great-grandfather, my grandfather was a Hebrew rabbi. He was a Jewish rabbi. So anyway, let's move on. I want to thank you once again for joining us here at the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. But once again, I want to tell you, God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world.